Hello, welcome back to the show. Hi guys, welcome back to the Bible reading with Pastor Me. This week we are in the book of Judges still, chapters 13 through 16. We are going to hear a story about a very popular person in the Bible, like we have been. Lots of popular people. This is a key Bible story, so it makes sense. So, we're still in the book of Judges. You may remember last week we talked about Gideon. The week before we talked about Deborah, these leaders of God's people, the Israelites. So here we are in Judges chapters 13 through 16. Another very popular leader in the Old Testament scripture. So here we go. There was a time when the people of Israel lived side by side with a people called the Philistines. The Philistines were strong. They ruled the land that should have belonged to the Israelites. God saw that the people of Israel needed a leader who was even stronger than any of the leaders he had sent before. So God sent a man named Samson to lead his people, and he gave Samson superhuman strength. Samson would stay strong as long as he did not cut his hair. Samson let his hair grow and grow, and he tied it into 7 braids. He was so strong that he could rip the doors off a city gate and carry them on his shoulders. If someone tied him up, he could break the ropes as if they were mere strings. Whoa. Time after time, the Philistines tried to capture Samson and put him in jail, and time after time, they failed. Then Samson met a beautiful woman named Delilah, and she pretended to be Samson's friend, and he was foolish in lusting after her and longing after her. But she was really not his friend. She was really a spy for the Philistines. They said they would pay her to find out what made Samson so strong and what could make him weak. Samson liked Delilah maybe too much, and one day he finally told her the secret of what made him so strong, the blessing that God gave him. And that night when Samson fell asleep, the Philistines came into the house he was sleeping in, and one of them cut off Samson's braids, cut off his hair. Now Samson was like any other man, and it was easy to tie him up and drag him off to the jail they put him in. Samson prayed to God to make him strong again. And at last, Samson had a chance to get back at his enemies, and the Philistine leaders took him outside to show him off to their people. Thousands and thousands were standing on the roof of a building, a temple for a god named Dagon, a false god that they worshipped. A very important false god to these Philistine people. Samson pushed the pillars that held up this temple building, and the roof came crashing down right on top of the Philistine people. And many Philistines died, and so did Samson. And he was remembered, Samson, as a hero to God's people. Pretty interesting guy. Pretty amazing gift that God blessed him with, too. Couple important things to remember about Samson, and maybe you've already heard the story of Samson before, and maybe next time we talk about the story we'll go into it a little bit more. But Samson, as strong as he was, and as great as he was, and as powerful as he was, and as awesome of a gift that he had from God was, Samson was also foolish. Samson let the gift of his strength get to his head in a negative way. Samson didn't focus on using that gift for God. He focused on using it for himself. And Samson was a little too foolish with this woman, Delilah. So foolish that he gave up the secret, and that is what ended up costing him his life eventually. So, though he was great, though he was remembered as a hero to God's people, he, just like many men in Scripture, just like many of us, when you're not focused on using the gifts that we're given for God, the gifts from God for God, we can make foolish decisions, and those decisions could have great consequences. So remember this story of Samson. He was a very strong leader and remembered as a hero to his people, but let's remember the full story of Samson. Interesting guy. Next week we're going to move out of the book of Judges and into the book of Ruth, one of Alethia's favorite people, I would say, Ruth. So that's a story for next week. Thanks for joining me, guys. Remember Samson. Remember who he was. Remember what he could have been. We'll see you next week.